This is Rebel Radio. I'm Scott Davidson. We are now joined by the one and only Gus G. What's up, Gus?
Hey, Scott. All good, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Thanks for coming back. We had you a year ago, and you put out albums like every year. How is that?
It seems like that. I don't know.
How is that you put out albums every year, but other bands wait 5, 6, 7, 8? I mean...
Well, I do a lot of writing in between my tours, so I always stockpile ideas, so there's like no shortage of riffs. That's one thing. Number two, I like to stay creative. I'm a creative guy, you know. It's like in all honesty, I mean, yeah, we spoke last year about the Firewind record, Immortals, but
yes,
before that record, Firewind hadn't put out an album in 5 years.
But you put out solo records in the meantime.
Right. In the meantime, I did 2 solo records, and now I just released my 3rd solo record. So, you know, I release stuff whenever I think I have a good amount of material, and if I have something to say, I put it out. And yeah, I'm feeling creative the last few years, so it's all good. I just hope it keeps up like that.
Now, what got you started playing guitar in the first place?
Peter Frampton Comes Alive. That was the vinyl because my dad had it at home, and I was listening to that growing up, and When Peter Frampton was doing the talk box effect guitar and made the guitar talk, that blew me away. And that was sort of like the big revelation I had when I was 9 years old. And that's when I went up to my dad and I asked him to buy me a guitar. And then I said, I want to start taking lessons. And I mean, he got me a classical guitar at first because he didn't know. So for the first 4 years, I was stuck with a classical. But yeah, eventually he got me an electric guitar. That was when I was 14 years old. And that was it for me, man. Yeah.
And that changed your life, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Really. That's when I started putting all the long practicing hours in, and just fell in love with the electric guitar, and just that was my whole life ever since.
How many hours a day would you say you play guitar?
I mean, you know, back then I was doing really long practice sessions. It was like 8 hours a day, 10 hours. Like, you know, when I wasn't at school, I would be home practicing. Like, I really had no social life outside that. I didn't see any of my friends. I didn't have a girlfriend until, like, the last year in high school because, you know, all my time I dedicated to the guitar. It was great.
Now, you have a new CD. It is called Fearless. It came out on 4/20 on AFM Records, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And how's it doing so far?
It's done great, man. It's like... It's been really, really positive feedback from fans and press. The record had a pretty strong first week. I mean, it even charted in Germany, number 63, which is the first time I'm entering the charts in Germany with any of my solo efforts. And, you know, in some other countries, you know, in Switzerland as well. It was cool. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy about it. Yeah.
How is the writing compared for your solo stuff, say, you know, compared to Firewind or anything else you've done?
Actually, it's the writing was pretty similar to the last Firewind record because it was me and Dennis Ward who co-produced with me, and he's my co-writing partner. And basically, we just continued where we left off from Immortals. We had such a good writing chemistry between us that I just decided to keep sending him some material and see what he thinks. Some stuff that I was actually thinking about my solo record. And we went on from there, man. It was really easy, really laid back, and we actually wrote sporadic as well in between my tours, so we didn't stress about it. I think that's when the best material really comes out, when you're not stressed about deadlines and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, sometimes the band's got, okay, we're going in the studio, we got to write this, we got a month or two to write this album, so it's not as good maybe sometimes, right? I mean... No,
and I know because I've been there. We've done that with Firewind, and we ended up having, you know, a couple of weak records in a row because we were just, you know, it's just overwhelming when you do like album tour cycles, you know. At some point, you know, it burns you out. So you need to take a break and really put out material when you really have something to say or when you feel you're confident about the material you're writing. And even with this solo record, I mean, like before this came out, the last one was 3 years ago. And I was just, as I said before, I was just stockpiling ideas until I felt I was ready with it, you know?
Now you have Dennis Ward from Pink Cream 69 and Unisonic. Yeah. And he's on vocals and bass. And drummer Will Hunt, who plays with Evanescence and Black Label Society.
Yeah.
How did you get together with those guys?
Well, the thing is, when I started writing with Dennis, it was like, he said, hey, man, it's like, said, why don't you play the bass as well? You know, we're co-writing this. You're gonna be mixing this album. Why don't you just play the bass? He's a sick bass player, man. So I like playing bass on my solo records so far, but this time I wanted perspective from a bass player, you know, as well. So, and then, you know, since he was doing all the pilot vocal tracks for the demos and stuff, at the end of the session, I was thinking like, well, who do we get to sing for this now? I didn't want to do another album with collaborations like the first two. So
yeah,
that's when Dennis came in and said, hey, man, listen, we can, you know, I can also sing on the record if you like, and we can do this as a power trio. And I thought it was a cool idea, something different, and said, yeah, let's do it if you're able to tour this as well. So this was also a challenge for him. You know, he had to actually learn how to play bass and sing at the same time on stage, you know?
Yeah.
But he was really up for the task, for the challenge, you know? He really wanted to do it. I mean, it really solved a lot of problems, you know, especially for me, because, you know, finding a singer and you know, especially all the good guys are taken and they're always booked up in advance.
Or on tour, the recording, yeah.
Right. So it was really cool. And, I mean, the team with Dennis is, you know, it's just there and the chemistry is there, so why not? And as for Will, I mean, I met Will Hunt at the Frankfurt Messe last year when I was touring there. He was doing some clinics there, and I was doing a show at the Messe, and we're staying at the same hotel, and we just met up at the hotel bar and just hang out a little bit, you know, and talk tour stories and stuff like that. And then I thought it was a good sign, you know. I mean, he's a hell of a drummer, one of my favorites, and I thought immediately, wow, he could hopefully he would be interested in playing on this project. And I just hit him up a couple of weeks later or something, and I asked him if he wanted to do it. And I think we flew him over to Germany last summer, and we tracked drums there. And when he was on a break from Evanescence tours, and and then I went back to Greece and recorded the guitars here, and then Dennis did everything because he has his own studio as well in Germany, because he lives in Germany. So that's how we did it.
Very cool. So Scott Davidson, we're talking to Gus G, and his new release, Fearless, is out. Gus is calling from his hometown, Greece, today. And how's the scene in Greece for music?
It's good, man. It's local scene has been doing good here. A lot of bands coming up, always a lot of local bands. Greece is also famous for having a really passionate rock audience as well.
That's what I heard, yeah.
Yeah, like especially all the Mediterranean countries, you know, Italy, Spain, Greece are pretty similar. It's always great. I love playing shows here as well. It's great.
Well, is Greece your biggest fan base, or where would you say your biggest fan base is at?
I would probably say, yeah. I mean, Greece, Japan's always been a good place for me. You know, certain territories in
Germany?
Europe. I'm sorry, what?
How about Germany? Probably big over there too, right?
Germany, not so big. I mean, Germany is such a big market, and it's like a lot of competition. So we never really broke big in Germany, but it's been pretty decent, you know, and it's been on the rise lately. So still playing the club circuit, but it's doing well. Playing a few more festivals now. So, but there's a really loyal fan base in Germany. That's the cool thing, you know, especially in Europe. Like, doesn't matter the size. Like, you can have fans following you for years. You basically grow together. So it's cool, you know. Belgium is a good place, actually. We do well there. A little bit in England. So yeah, there's certain territories where it's good. Yeah.
So the tracks for Fearless, we've got Letting Go, Mr. Manson. Is that about Charlie Manson?
Yeah. It's not a very it's kind of funny because we wrote that song, and then a few months later he passed away.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a diabolical coincidence.
Yeah. Don't Tread on Me, Fearless, Nothing to Say, Money for Nothing, which is a cover song of the Dire Straits classic, which was the first song on MTV. How'd you pick that song to cover?
It was actually my wife's idea. I was making like some list, because I definitely wanted to record at least one cover or maybe two for this record, and
yeah,
I was putting together some list, and she said, you know, why don't you do Money for Nothing? I'm like, yeah, what a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? And so it's one of those riffs I always loved growing up, you know. If you're a guitar player, you want to learn how to play that, and if you're not a guitar player, you have at least air guitar to that one, at least word ideas down on my phone, or I'll try to remember them, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, most of the writing happens when I'm at home in between the tours.
When you're writing a song, say you come up with a riff, you say, oh, this would be perfect for my next solo release, or this would be perfect for Firewind, or how does you determine that? What songs go where?
Sometimes it is like that. I'll get a feeling of it right away. I'll be like, yeah, that would be great for the next firing or whatever. And sometimes I don't know what it is until later on, and until how the song develops and what kind of vibe we go for. I like to just stockpile ideas. You never know. Just keep writing riffs, and just as long as there's ideas on the side, you can always go back, revisit it, and finish up. Because I like to do write ideas fast. I don't want to overthink stuff. When inspiration hits you, you just gotta put down the idea, just put a quick beat on there, and just leave it there. And sometimes the song will come to me like as a whole, and then sometimes it might just have one riff, and then where do I go next with that? But you never know. That one riff might fit great with another riff that might show up 6 months later, and then you need a bridge, or you need like a main intro part, and then you put this and this together, and you have like a great song. So I don't know. It depends really.
Any chance? Now we're based here in Chicago. You came here before. Any chance to come back here again, or is that what's the book so far?
I have a U.S. tour starting in September, but it's mainly we started in Texas and on West Coast because we were in Chicago last November.
Yeah. Yep.
Me and Vinny Moore, and now we're going back out together again, and also with Richie Kotzen. But we're not doing East Coast this time or Midwest. So unfortunately, not this year. Hopefully, I don't know if there's going to be another U.S. leg, depending how this one does, or if any other offers come up. Might come back next year, but it's hard to say at this point.
We'll look for that to happen here in Chicago, hopefully, or sometime in the Midwest or East Coast. What do you want to say to your fans? I know you got a bunch of interviews all day today. What do you want to say to your fans before I let you go?
Man, I want to thank everybody for the support all the years. I want to thank everybody for coming to the shows whenever we roll through town. And to those that are brand new, I hope they can check out the latest album, Fearless. And I want to thank you for the interview.
Thank you for calling in again. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully. I want you to be the DJ here and introduce the next song. But first, what is the song Letting Go about?
I don't know. I think Dennis wrote the lyrics for this. So it's probably about a guy who's just, who's going through some mental breakdown, I guess.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. I want you to be the DJ here, and you intro the song, okay?
You mean Letting Go?
Yeah, we're going to play a double dose with Money for Nothing at the end, but first intro the Letting Go, okay?
Okay, cool, yeah. Hey guys, this is Gus G, and you're listening to my new track. It's called Letting Go. Check it out.
Right here on Rebel Radio. Thanks a lot, Gus.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott.
Good luck on the album.